So, I love the Olympics. I was up until 2 watching water polo. That is not a joke. I literally had to see if we came back and won it. Anybody else watch water polo till 2 in the morning? A couple of you? That's what I'm talking about. I love the Olympics, so I keep watching it. So, all that to say, I'm going to need y'all with me today. I need to hear from you. Let me know that you're into it. Keep me awake up here. So, and I'll try to keep you awake up there. But I just want to welcome you. If you're new to Simple Church, like she said, we say family. We mean it. Like you're just part of the family now. Like take your shoes off if you want to. Put them up on the seat in front of you. We don't care. Like we just want you to be here. We just want to worship God together. And so, like some people will do it. I don't care. You think I care? I'll take my shoes off. No, I'm just kidding. I got to just say a couple of thank yous. First of all, to everybody who made the SC Kids Summer Nights happen. Thank you so much for your hard work. From getting this place decorated to volunteering the day of and trying to take care of all those kids, and then the people on stage did an awesome job, and our little fish fin, I can't give away who it was, but Mitchell Gaskins may have done a great job voicing that. If you know Mitchell, it was hilarious. He was like, too radical. I mean, it was phenomenal. And so we're ready to do that next year. And then I got to say to everyone who, during this series, we wanted to have fun with the series. It's during the summer. And so I appreciate all the groups out there who, decorated and dressed and sometimes overdressed and just had fun with it. That's what we want to do. We want to have fun in church. That's okay, So I was proud of them for doing that. Today, very funny. So today is just J Day. So, my thing is to wear a jacket. It just so happens that I decided for the first time in 8 months to not wear a jacket on stage today. So there's a whole bunch of people running around with a jacket on. They get to see how sweaty it is doing that. So, no, I appreciate that. They've been awesome. They've done such a great job. And Les always rocks a jacket. So he's the original. He's the OG right there. So Les, I'm just trying to be as cool as Les. That's it. That's all I'm trying to do. If I reach half of that, I'm done. So listen, we've had a good time with this. I'm excited for the next series. We'll talk about that at the end. But I want to talk a little bit about worry today. So if you're a worrier, this one's going to be for you. And I think everybody has it to some extent. But we had the opportunity, as most of you know, my wife and I, to go to Jamaica for 7 days to celebrate our 20th wedding anniversary, which comes up on August 4th, and just a chance to get away. And it was fantastic. We literally did not do anything. We laid on the beach the entire time when you get there. So we went to an all-inclusive. We've never done that before. And this one, you have butlers, which was super uptown. Like, when you get there, they hand you a phone, and they say, this is your butler phone. Call them whenever you want. And literally, that's what if you want something, you just call them, and they get it. And, in the beginning, you're kind of timid. You're like, hey, can we maybe have a cracker? And then by the end, you're like, I need a tiramisu at 3 a.m. Okay, yeah, bring it. Or whatever. So it was the greatest thing in the world. And so we laid on the beach every day. And at like 2 p.m. every day, they brought us coconut shrimp. Like, they knew. Like, this guy wants coconut shrimp every day. And it's literally every day. I didn't have to ask for it. They just brought it. And so right now we're living with our in-laws, with my in-laws, while our house is being built. And so I got home and I told my mother-in-law, Lisa, I said, hey, at 2 o'clock, the coconut shrimp needs to be. And she said, you're not in Jamaica anymore. I was like, all right, fair enough. So, but we just enjoyed our time there. And one of the big things for the Jamaicans, everybody was so nice, like literally some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. And they always say, no worries. Like, if you want anything, that's their response. No worries. You could be like, I want you to go catch a shark and then cut it up. They'd be like, no worries. Like, I'll be back in a little while. Like, they literally, and you feel it. It's not just something they say. It's truly something they believe. No worries, no problems. And we got a chance to talk to a lot of them, and that's really kind of the lifestyle there. They talk about Jamaican time. Like, if they say 3, it may be 5:30. You don't know. Like, it's like, no worries. Don't worry about it, And so we're laying there, and, of course, when you're laying on the beach and people are bringing you coconut shrimp, there's not a whole lot of worries. But you know what was funny? I started getting to the end of the week, right? And it's like 2 days before it was time to leave, all the worries started coming back. What am I going to get back to? What do we got to do at the church? What do we got to accomplish? School's about to start. What do we got to, you know what I'm saying? You know how it just takes you, and it starts to take away from your experience, and it kind of grabs a hold of you. And so I just have been thinking a lot about this idea of worry. And my wife is an external worrier. Like, she's worried about things. She tells you. She's going to share the worry with you. Now, I'm actually probably more of a worrier than she is, but I'm all internal. Like, I don't tell you, I just feel it inside, and I worry about everything. I always have. I worried in high school, I kid you not, about having wrinkled clothes. I can't stand it. I iron everything. This shirt's a little tighter than most of the stuff that I wear. I gained a few pounds in Jamaica, but I have not sat down today because if I sit down, my shirt's gonna be wrinkled. This is worry. This is how worry sees you. I don't wear my seatbelt. because the first service booed me because I said that. I was like, it's my choice. Like, if you're without sin, then, oh, yeah, cast the first stone. But I'm like, don't boo me. My choice. Anyway, but I'm not trying to take some stance against anything. I just don't want to get my shirt wrinkled. Like, that's the craziness of it. That is, and I kid you not, I worried about it all through school until I got into adulthood, and I was like, nobody cares about your wrinkles. I can tell by the way people dress. Nobody cares about wrinkles, right? But it consumed me. I got to be honest, with these kind of skinnier jeans, they don't always cover your shoelaces. It drives me crazy. I'm up here thinking about my shoelaces being exposed. Like, who's going to see it and think bad of me? Like, that's what worry does, though. It creates these ridiculous things in your head. And I appreciate Pastor Aaron speaking last week about fear, and I'm kind of piggybacking off of that because worry is just fear's little cousin. Like, it's about to grow up and be a fear if you let it. And you have fear. We all have these worries that we go through, right? And I have big worries too. Is this church going to be successful? Are we actually going to live out what I think God wants us to do? Or are people going to give money to this? Every week it's like, are my sermons going to be funny? Is it going to be are they going to listen? Are they going to learn from it? And you just worry about these things. What are my kids going to grow up to be? Am I going to stay healthy? Right? We have very real worries in our life. But what I know is for a lot of people that it's not just a passing thought, but it's a gripping thought that takes a hold of you and consumes your life. We got a chance to snorkel in Jamaica. And, call it fear or worry. I just have developed this huge fear of being in the ocean. Now, I grew up on the lake, and the lake's nasty. I mean, I didn't have any problem getting in the lake with water moccasins and who knows what else in there, dead bodies or whatever's in the lake. I have no idea. And it was no big deal. First time I went to the ocean, no big deal. We body surfed all day, didn't think a second thing about it. The second time I got in the ocean, freaked out. I just started worrying, what's in here? What could happen? What could be? All the Jaws flashbacks came, and I was like, this is what's going to happen. And so Amanda said she wanted to snorkel. She's like, I'll go without you. And I'm like, that's pathetic. I'm gonna go with you. I'm not gonna be that guy. Like, lay here eating coconut shrimp. Like, have a good time. I'm not gonna be that guy. So we scheduled a time. They only take 8 people a day to go out snorkeling, and so we scheduled a time. And the night before, a little storm had come through. And so when we got up, there was a red flag, which means they can't bring anything out. And then a little bit later in the day, when it was time, it was still a yellow flag, so they couldn't take anybody out. And so I was like, saved by God, that kind of thing. Like, we can't go. And Amanda was like, hey, they'll roll us over to tomorrow if you still want to go. And I was like, sure, let's tempt fate again. Let's just laugh in the face of fate and see what happens. Sure, mark us down. So we scheduled again for the next day, and everything was fine that day. And so we get in the boat with these 3 other couples, and the captain was awesome, and what was the guy's name that went with us? Our little friend? Czar. Czar was amazing. He was so much fun. He was probably 18, and you talk about having a good time. This kid was awesome. So anyway, they're out there having a good time. And they start talking with some of these other experienced snorkelers, and they're like, you guys got barracudas? And they're like, yeah, man, we got barracudas. And I'm like, let's stop talking about things. Let's just sit here quietly. And then they start talking about sharks and stuff, and having no idea that I'm just internalizing all of this, and now my worry's peaked. So we get to the spot. We're in the middle of the ocean at this point. You can still kind of see the resort, but we're in the middle of it. And so they start going over all this stuff, and they say, okay, there's 3 ways to get off the boat. You can fall off backward, which is the cool guy way. You can sit on it and just kind of push yourself off, or me and Czar can come and pick your life jacket up and drop you off. And I was like, well, I'm not doing that. I'm a dude. We're not doing that. And so we let all the other people get off, and it's my turn. I was like, okay, so I get the mask on, and I'm like, you only told us for a half a minute how to use this, but okay, cool. We'll just go jump in here in the shark waters. No big deal. So I get on the side. I'm like, I'm just going to jump in, and I just seize up. I just lock up. I'm about to jump into what is one of my biggest fears, and that worry just took over. I know that I'm going to jump in. It's going to be a Jaws scene, and he's just going to, boom, swallow me. And what I thought in that moment is, everyone else is going to have a cool story to tell, and I'm going to be dead. That's how this is going to end. Because if you don't know somebody, yeah, you're going to be like, that was crazy. But when you get home, you're like, dude, I kid you not, guy got ate by a shark. And I was going to be the guy. That's sitting here on the side of the boat. That's where worry took me. I'm the Jaws guy in everyone else's story now, right? So they can see that I'm seasoned up. So the captain and Czar come over, and they're like, we'll drop you in. I'm like, no, you're not dropping. I'm a man, right? Okay? And so as soon as they try to grab my jacket, I just leap in there. So now I'm bobbing in the ocean, shark-infested waters in my mind. And then Amanda jumps in, she got a little bit scared too. I'm just saying, she's like Miss Ocean, and she got a little bit scared, which scared me even more, so thanks for that. So she got in, and she swims away, as she does. She's left me in the ocean more than twice. She swims away, and I'm like conquering a huge fear over here, maybe stick around me for like 4 seconds. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to catch up with her. So I get the mask on, put the thing in, and I start trying to breathe. So the first thing you do is you start breathing through your nose if you're not used to it. It's like, oh, nope, can't do that. And so I start like, how do you do this? And so now I'm worried because I'm by myself. Everyone else is gone. So I'm swimming off, trying to catch up, and the waves start coming in, and one comes into the top of my tube. And so just salt water all in the mouth. And now I'm panicked. Now I'm like coming up, ripping the mask off. I'm dying. Where's the shark at that just threw water at me kind of thing, Freaking out. And I stopped, and I kid you not, I had kind of a life-defining moment. At that moment, I stopped and I said, you know what? You're worried about a man-eating shark. There's probably 1 million people snorkeling across the world right now, and 0 out of 1 million are probably dying right now. Like, probably no one is dying snorkeling at this moment right now. So what makes you different from everyone else? And then my other side of my mind was like, well, maybe sharks really like you. I don't know. no. And I was like, this is stupid. Like, you're worried about something that is probably not going to happen. So I put my mask on, started controlling my breathing, and I was like, just look down. So I looked down. I was like, okay, it's clear blue water. It's just beautiful, right? And I was going to miss out on all of this. So I looked down. My first move is like, where's the shark? Like I had to like control it. And I looked down. There's fish. There's zebrafish. There was these like blue fish. There was coral. It was beautiful. And after a little while, controlling my breathing, I swam out with everybody. And for about 30 minutes, I snorkeled, and I was fine. Now, I'd do it again. I'd probably have to work up the courage to do it again. But I just thought, how crazy is worry when it seizes us that much that we create something and miss out on so much of life because of that? There's been studies done, people a lot smarter than me, that say 8% of what we worry about might actually happen. 8% of the things you worry about might happen. So a percentage of the 8% might happen. Think about that. And all my worriers are like, that's a pretty big number. You rounded up to 10. You're like, that's 92% of what we worry about every day will never happen. It's never going to happen. But it controls our lives. And again, I've been in those moments. I've felt that, and I've lived in worry. And I'm telling you what, God is bringing me out of it, and it is changing the way that I live my life. And that is my hope and my goal. I love what the Dalai Lama says. If a problem is fixable, if it's a situation is such that you can do something about it, then there's no need to worry because you can do something about it. If it's not fixable, then there is no help in worrying. There is no benefit in worrying whatsoever. That's a great thought. If you can do something about it, then you're going to do something about it. So you don't need to worry about it. If you can't do something about it, then there's absolutely no need to worry. There's literally no need to worry about anything ever. There's never going to be a situation where the best idea is to get everyone together to start worrying about it. You're never going to be in any situation where it's like, okay, you worry about this outcome, you worry about that outcome, and you worry about the other outcome. Let's get together and talk about what we worried about. There's never a situation. 0 times in your life will worry ever benefit you. But it consumes us. I, as a worrier, have experienced so much of that over my life. And God has taken me through a season where I lost a lot of stuff. And it was stuff, right? We had to sell some of our cars. We had to sell our dream home. We lost some friendships. I mean, it was a very difficult season. And you talk about worry creeping in when you don't have that job. And I made a good amount of money at my last church. I mean, we were well off. You lose that job, worry will creep in. What am I going to do with my life? What's next? And it starts to consume everything about you. I remember having panic attacks. I never thought those were real, to be honest with you. I was like, someone just slap them. They're fine. Like, just, it's going to be all right. I mean, seriously, that's kind of where I was at. I was like, I don't know. In the movies, they blow into a bag. Just do that or something, but calm down. Like, I didn't get it until it seized me, and I couldn't control the worry that was going on in my life. I remember sitting in a closet crying, and I don't cry very often, and I certainly don't sit in closets very often. So, I mean, it was a weird spot to be in. Like, why am I sitting in this closet crying? Because I was overwhelmed by the worry. What are we going to do? When I told the church I was leaving, I was like, oh, snap, like I just said that out loud, and it's going to happen. Like I'm going to leave this place. I've worried about things that I've done in my life. I've worried about past mistakes. I've worried about, you name it. Now, there's a guy named Roy Bennett who wrote a book, and it's kind of about this idea of worry, and he says this: no amount of regretting can change the past, and no amount of worrying can change the future. Can't help. All that worry does is rob us of our present and rob us of our identity. That's it. It's the only thing that worry can do. Now, it's very easy to say, don't worry, right? Don't worry about a thing. Every little thing's going to be all right. 3 little birds told me that. Anyway, anybody? Bob Marley? Okay, never mind. All right. You guys need to get a little cooler, all right? You need to get a little more Jamaican. Singing, don't worry about a thing. Because every little thing. I'm not the singer. Anyway, okay. There you go. You got some Bobby McFarlane? You know, anybody? Don't worry. Be happy now. Okay, anyway, that's my musical career right there. It's easy to say that, right? It's easy to say, hey, don't worry about it. It's different when you're facing it or when you think you're going to face it. Because here's what I know about my worriers. If there's nothing to worry about, we dream up something to worry about. Like, oh, I'm going to think of that next thing to worry about. Oh, I'm not worried about anything. I should be worried about that. I got to worry about not being worried, right? You just create things, and you lay there all night worrying about that thing. Well, there's a guy named Jesus who we should probably listen to who took part of his Sermon on the Mount, like this famous sermon, to discuss this very thing. Because he knew these are the things that we're going to face as humans. He knew that we were going to be facing worry, and especially the climate that we live in today. And honestly, living in America creates a lot of worry because you need to have stuff, and you need to be going, and you've got to accomplish this, and you got to do this, and you got to believe this, and you can't believe like that. And it just creates so much panic and worry in our lives. And this is what Jesus says in Matthew chapter 6, starting in verse 25. And he says, that is why I tell you not to worry about everyday life. We'll get to that in a second. Whether you have enough food and drink or enough clothes to wear. Isn't life more than food and your body more than clothing? Look at the birds. They don't plant or harvest or store food in barns, for your heavenly Father feeds them. And aren't you far more valuable to him than they are? Great question right here. Can all your worries add a single moment to your life? And why worry about your clothing? Look at the lilies of the field and how they grow. They don't work or make their clothing, yet Solomon in all his glory was not dressed as beautifully as they are. And if God cares so wonderfully for the wildflowers that are here today and thrown into the fire tomorrow, he will certainly care for you. Another tough question. Why do you have so little faith? So don't worry about these things saying, what will we eat? What will we drink? What will we wear? These things dominate the thoughts of unbelievers. But your heavenly Father already knows all your needs. Jesus lays it out there. He said, there's absolutely nothing to worry about. And he asks one really difficult question. Worrying about anything, will it add a moment to your life? No. All it does is take away. Because life is going to happen. It's going to happen. You're either live or you're going to die. You're either going to wake up tomorrow or you're not. Like, life is going to move forward. And all my worries are like, oh my gosh, I'm dying tomorrow. Like, no. But this is the reality that we face. Why worry? It's not going to add anything. All it does is take away. And then he asks, I think, was even more of a difficult question. Why do you have so little faith? And I think looking back at my life, if I'm just being honest, my worry comes from a lack of faith. I either believe this or I don't. I talked about that a couple weeks ago. Either all of this is true and the promises of God are true over my life, or they're not. And if I believe what I read in this word, I really shouldn't have any concerns. Death's been defeated. My eternity's secure. I have the Holy Spirit here to help me. I'm accepted by the Creator. I mean, like, what else do I really have to worry about? Not death, not other people, not being lost from God. I mean, not the needs that I have. I mean, I don't have to worry about any of that. But I still do. Why? Because at the end of the day, do I really believe everything that's in here to the core of me? And I'm telling you right now, God has taken me on this journey and showed me who He is through this. I wonder if you could go back to a year ago or 2 years ago. Are you still worrying about the thing that you were worrying about then? Or can you even remember what you were worrying about? And at that moment, it dominated your life. That's all you could think about. I go back to everything that I went through. And I thought it was the worst thing that could ever happen. And I didn't understand why I was having to go through this. And I've tried to do everything right. I'm trying to do why am I going through this, God? And I look back now and I almost feel foolish for worrying about it because God was setting up something that he was going to do through me. I feel stupid. Now, in the moment, it was tough. In the moment, I didn't understand. But now, what do? When I face something, I look back and I'm like, oh, okay. I see what you were doing. You had me go through that because you needed to be this person today. And I'm telling you right now, had I not gone through all that, I would not be the person that I am today. I'm thankful that I went through that. I used to care what people thought about my preaching. I wanted to sound smart. The problem is I'm not. Like, I'm okay. It's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm not as smart as other people. I don't parse Greek and stuff like that, right? I'll ask Matthew if I need to. He's really smart. I'm funny. That's me. I want to be a stand-up comedian. That's why when I come out and I say, how you doing, Simple Church? That's just because I want to be a stand-up comedian. That's what they do. But before I went through everything I went through, I cared what people thought. Am I going to be smart enough? Am I going to sound as good as some of these other guys? I don't care. I'm going to get up here and I want to be the person that God created me to be. And that's not going to be for some people who think church should be boring and they can go find another dying church. And I'm going to say things like that I shouldn't say because this is just who I am and I don't care. I really don't. Do you know how freeing that is? To not care? I used to script out most of my message just to be careful with what I said. I barely write any notes anymore. I'm like, God, you'll tell me what to say. And you'll forgive me for some of the other stuff. Like, I would not be this person, and I would not be prepared for this moment had I not gone through all those things that I worried so much about. I look back now, and I'm like, oh, okay, you know what you're doing. Cool. Like, it makes sense. We forget so often, and I love what Jesus says here in these verses. Notice how he talks about God when he's talking to the people. He says, your heavenly Father will do this. He doesn't say, hey, God up in the sky, he'll throw some stuff down at you every once in a while. He's like, no, your Father who takes care of you is going to take care of all this stuff. Stop worrying about it. You know what I don't see? My kids throughout life have never walked through and been like, we're going to be able to cover the mortgage this month? Are we getting a 4.5 or are we over that? Because we might need to refinance. My kids don't think about that. They don't wonder whether or not the mortgage is going to be getting paid. They don't wonder if their next meal is coming. They don't wonder where do the fees come so that they can play sports. Like, they don't come and consider that. Why? Because they trust that the parents are going to take care of them. You see where this is going? And the Bible tells us if we as earthly parents give good gifts, how much more so does God do for us? Yet we put all of our hope in our parents. We don't question it. My parents made some bad financial decisions. I love you, Dad. There were times that we struggled. We didn't have very much food in the house, but I never thought to myself, you know what? This is a bad situation, and I don't know if I'm going to get to eat again. Now I get that there are people that go through that, but I just trusted that my dad was going to bring home food. We don't give God that same level of trust when he's the creator and the provider. Jehovah Jireh. Ooh, that's a smart word. Gold star. Yeah, we're going to start me a little chart for every smart thing that I say, and then take one down if I say something dumb. So it's going to be bad. Let's not do that. William Barclay, another smart person, in his commentary wrote these words, and I think this is just so fitting. Those who feed their hearts on the record of what God has done in the past will never worry about the future. Worry refuses to learn the lesson of life. We are still alive, and our heads are still above water. And yet, if someone had told us that we would have gone through what we actually have gone through, we would have said it was impossible. The lesson of life is that somehow we have been enabled to bear the unbearable and to do the undoable and to pass the breaking point and not to break. The lesson of life is that worry is unnecessary. It's so good. We forget who God is. We forget what God has done because the worry creeps in and says, yeah, but this time. And the Bible creeps in and says, no, not any time. Never does he fail. So what's the remedy for worry? Because again, it's easy to say, don't worry. It's a whole lot harder to not do it because it's all in the brain. Satan's really good about planting stuff in your head. There's some of you, you're worried about college and your kid's 2 years old. Like, calm down. They're probably not smart enough to go. You're like, oh, no, now they're not smart enough. Like, I just created a new worry for you. Like, it's okay. Like, you're trying to teach them French and they're 1 year old. Like, stick with baby sign. Even that I don't understand. But anyway, that's fine. My kid doesn't know how to say more or whatever. I don't know. That's the one. I'm not making fun of it. I'm just saying, you know how you worry about stuff. I've had parents, like, my kids started talking really early, and then I've had friends and stuff that their kids didn't start talking, like, a month after that or whatever, and they're freaking out. I'm like, no, stop worrying. People do things in their own time. Anyway, I'm not, my wife is like, move on. You're not a baby expert. And she has the degree. She has a master's, cum laude. She's the smart one in the family. I kid you not, one time, sorry. Sometimes things pop up and I have to get them off my chest. We were sitting in my office at my old church, and my son, I think it was my son, who was doing fourth grade homework, third grade homework, I don't remember what it was, math homework. And Amanda and I walk in, it was after a Wednesday night youth, and I walk in the room, and he's like, hey, can you help me with this? I'm like, yeah, I got this. I was going to be a math teacher if I wasn't a pastor, so I'm not dumb, all right? I took calculus and trig in high school, so yeah, there's that. So he's like, can you help me with this third grade math? And I'm like, sure, I got this. That second, Amanda comes in the door, and he goes, never mind, Mom can help me. She has a master's. I was like, and I looked at the work, and I couldn't do it. It still hurt my feelings, though. So what's the remedy? What is the remedy for worry? Well, Jesus doesn't leave us hanging. At the end of his whole spiel, he gives us this line here in verse 33. He says this, you want to beat worry? Seek the kingdom of God above all else. Live righteously, and he will give you everything you need. It's pretty easy. Jesus is like, just get your priorities straight. Don't worry about all the other stuff in this world. Focus on God. Just if you'll just, God, whatever you want. See, when I went through all the stuff that I went through, it wasn't, God, what do you want to do out of this? It was, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? You know what I'm saying? Instead of, God, what are you going to do? What do you want to use out of this? What do I need to learn? How do I need to grow? Right? My mind was not focused. It was focused on me and the stuff that I was going to lose, those kind of things, right? And he says, and just live righteously. Just try to do the right thing. Love people. Be kind. And he'll supply everything you need. He's your father. He wants to do that. But you got to get those priorities. When we're chasing after the American dream instead of chasing after God, yeah, it's going to get out of whack, and you're going to have a lot to worry about. That's why there's so many people who are unhappy that have a lot of money. It's just more to worry about. More money, more problems. There we go. Yeah, y'all know, yeah. No info for the DEA, federal agents, man. Okay, all right, that's it. Tap myself in the phone in the basement. Anyway. Y'all don't know you're going to hear Biggie today. Anyway, y'all don't know how cool I am. I'm pretty cool. I lost my point there. Focus on God. Focus on God. I run a little bit out of time, but I think that it's very interesting the way that Jesus kind of laid out his sermon. He gives us the Lord's Prayer before he goes into all this stuff about worry. And I think he was setting the structure for if you want to defeat worry, let me give you the thing to do it. You want to pray to God, let me give you the formula for beating worry. And so this is what he says. Our Father in heaven, may your name be kept holy. May your kingdom come soon. May your will be done on earth as it is. It's weird to read in a different version. Throws me off. But y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know it. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. The point being, start your prayer out by focusing it back on God. God, your will be done, not mine. Jesus prayed this. God, if there's any other way we can make this happen, let's do that. But it's got to be your will. I know that's how it is. And for some reason, we think we're different than Jesus. We can worry enough about it that God will be like, okay, never mind, right? Like we have more power than Jesus. Like, God, your will, but not really. Like, God, your will be done right here in my life, in my family, in my job, in my kids. Your will, and my hands are off of it. There's nothing I can do. I can't control it. If I learned anything over the past 3 years, I cannot control things. I can be the most upstanding guy I can try to be. I can try to do the right thing. I can try to love God and love people to the best of my ability, and it's still not going to work out sometimes. It's out of my control. But there's a bigger picture going on. So he says, refocus on God. And then he says, give us today our daily bread. You know what's funny? Jesus didn't say, hey, why don't you pray for a week's worth of bread? Why don't you pray for tomorrow's bread too? Focus on today. Be present. Some of you guys are worrying so much about your kids and what's going to happen that you're missing the time right now with them. Some of you guys are so worried about what the could-bes and the things that could happen that you're missing out right now. We had a, well, never mind, I'm not gonna get there. I don't have time to get in that. Anyway, live life. That's all I want to say on that. And then he says, and forgive us our sins as we forgive those who have sinned against us. And I think the whole point of this is to get rid of worrying about other people. Some of y'all consume your life with other people. You're on Facebook like, I hope she's getting hers. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? There's some of you who something happened in your life with some other people and you just need to unfriend them because you're giving too much time. You're giving too much worry. And that's what Jesus is saying. Pray that you would be able to just forgive them as you've been forgiven so you can just let go of all that. There's people in my life when I went through all that I just needed to unfriend, but I spent time on there. I wanted to make sure things were not going well for them. You know, yeah, don't close up on me now and be like, you did that? You know what I'm saying? Where you pray for like a mild car wreck, nothing crazy. Yeah, if you're without sin, throw the first stone. You know what I'm saying? Like a broken pinky or something that's just annoying. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to get real better. Anyway, we waste our time with other people. We worry so much about what other people think or about what other people are doing or whatever. Why? We can't control what they do. You can be as kind as possible to somebody and they can walk out on you tomorrow. I know people are going to leave our church. And before I'd be like, hey, I'm a horrible person. I'm like, this wasn't for them. That's okay. I've got a sign on my door right as I leave my office there that says, you are too much for some people. Those are not your people. And I'm okay with that. You can do the best things and people will still walk out of you. We got to stop worrying. And let me just say this, and I got to wrap it up, I know. Stop worrying about what other people choose to do. You don't have to police the world. I've said that before. It's not your job. I can free you from it. Let them love who they want to love. I didn't promote anything. I'm saying you stop worrying about it. Love them like Jesus did. Live righteously and focus on God. Everything else will be okay. For some of you, just delete your stupid social media. You get on there, you're so worried about someone's post. That person doesn't think a thing about you. And you're over there like, nah, I can't believe they said that. You know, it's like, it ruins your day, and that person's over there like wakeboarding. Like, they don't even know that you're upset with them. I want to read Romans 8 as I kind of close here because I love the song that we sang that said, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Because he supplies the power to get over these things. He supplies the power to stop worrying about things. We don't tap into the Spirit enough to say, hey, I need your help with this. I need you to help me get over this thing. I'm worried about it. And you let the Spirit speak into you through the Word. But this is what Paul says in Romans chapter 8, starting in verse 15. He says, so you have not received the Spirit that makes you fearful slaves. Instead, you received God's Spirit when he adopted you as his own children. Now we call him Father, for his Spirit joins with our spirit to affirm that we are God's children. And since we are his children, we are his heirs. In fact, together with Christ, we are heirs of God's glory. What do we have to worry about? The Spirit joins with our spirit to say, you are God's son or daughter. All the promises are for you. What do we have to worry about? Nothing. That's why he goes on to say, if God is for us, who can be against us? If God's accepted you, who cares what anybody else thinks? Live your life. Skip down the road if you want to. You know, whatever. Wear Crocs. Do what? Yeah, if you ain't crocking, you ain't rocking. Stop worrying what people think. If God's for you, who can be against you? And that's why he goes on to say, listen, nothing can separate you from God, so stop worrying about it. And because of that, you're more than conquerors. And sometimes you just need to speak that over your worry. You know what? I'm more than a conqueror. I'm bigger than you. My God can take care of anything. I'm not going to worry about it. I wrote this down, and I'm leery of cheesy sayings like, let go and let God, or if he'll lead you to it, he'll lead you through it, you know, or whatever we crochet on pillows. But I wrote this down because I think somebody needs it today. And I'm just going to say this. Instead of being a worrier, be a warrior. That's pretty good. It's all right. Half a gold star. But here's what I mean in that. If this is true, you are more than a conqueror. You are bigger than any fear, any worry you're going to face. But you got to seek God first. You got to choose His way. And sometimes it doesn't make sense, but there's a bigger purpose. God uses all things for good for those who are called according to His purpose, for those who go after the kingdom. So, for the worrier, instead of staying up late, worrying about nothing, like, I wonder if there's going to be Ebola in my bread tomorrow, or whatever crazy. I've heard some crazy things that people worry about. Did you just give me the wrap it up sign? And you didn't think I was going to say anything about that? She's worried about what people think about how long I'm going. I'm 7 minutes past. I've been preaching 2 weeks. Nobody's hungry. Anyway. She's trying to be real sly about it. And then she gives me this too. That's when I need to stop something. Instead of staying up worrying about it, pray that prayer. God, get me refocused on you. And just give me what I need right now. I'm not worried about tomorrow, just right now. This is what I need. I need some grace right now. I need some help. I need to get over this hurt right now, whatever that thing is right now. And then help me just to stop worrying about other people. Help me just to forgive again if I need to. And be focused on you. And if that doesn't work, have a Bible handy. Man, you got it on your phone now. Anybody can access it and go through. Type in worry. You know what's crazy? Google's going to be like, here's 74,000 verses about worry. Google will do it for you. Read about it. Read His truth in here and believe that more than the lie that's in your head. And you're going to see you're going to start conquering that. And then remember, maybe you just need to lay there. When I get a little bit worried about the church and start thinking about, we're going to have enough finances and all this stuff, I just think, you know what? You know what I was going through 3 years ago? I thought my world was over. But God showed up big time. Remember what He did. Remember what He's done. That's my prayer and my hope for you. Because I truly think God's going to do something big through Simple Church. Not because we're some great church or anything like that, because I think that we just genuinely don't care about what people think. And we just want people to love Jesus. We just want to give that to people. So I do think He's going to do something big. But that's going to happen when we have a room full of people who don't worry about what people think, who don't worry about the outcome that's in God's hands, who don't worry about what other people choose to do, anything like that. When we have a church that does that, we're going to set this town on fire in a good way. That's what I want. That's what I'm praying for. Let's pray.